I am so nervous right now. I got out of my work clothes. I ran the straightener through my hair. Not to look like great, but I felt so blah after work, and it feels good to just get in comfortable clothes and prep. I've gotten so many downloads for what I want to say on this live stream. I'm going to wait until a few people hop on. In the meantime, I have bone broth I'm going to sip on, water, and I'm all prepared to sit here, and I'm just like, sitting Indian style because I want it to be really conversational and not very direct. I just want to speak what's on my mind. The live is definitely coming on from the school shooting that happened earlier, and it just really pulled me to do this live because it's been something that's been on my mind for a while. So hi everybody who's on. What's going on? Jason, Buzz, Ronald, Candace, Jason twice. Oh, two Jasons. Hi Candace. Derek, what up? So Valerie, how you doing? I hope you're feeling way better. I heard you just had an awesome attitude through all of that, so kudos to you, girl. Okay, so I am going to get to it because a lot of people are hopping on. So I want to talk about the rise of the feminine, which if you're not familiar with that language, it could be the rise of the creative. So creativity is really showing up as something that a lot of people want to cultivate, and a lot of people want to share their creative skills or learn how to be creative. I know Adam Roa just did, or he's been doing groups on tapping into your creativity and tapping into that intuition. And so this rise of the creative is what I'm choosing to call it on this live, because the rise of the feminine can just sound a little triggering, to be completely honest, especially for the guys. And it sounds like it's like rise of the woman. Oh, sorry, Jason. I hope the volume's working out for you now. Hi, Candace. Again, so the rise, I may every once in a while use the word feminine, but I'm going to try to concentrate on using rise of the creative. And what I mean by this, if you're unfamiliar, is that, again, this want and calling to be creative is rising in the collective over the world, throughout the world. And it's becoming something that's actually desired and something that's wanted and something that's actually looked up to if you can be creative and be confident about it. And this means more than just being artistic. There's creative artistic. These are my paintings in the back. There's creative artistic, through crafts and arts and poetry. And there is, Jared, this is not a male-female issue, but I did really want to bring it down to how it may be affecting masculine or males around us. It's not really split up into male and female because I have some masculine traits. There's a lot of guys I know that have feminine traits, and feminine and masculine actually don't mean man and woman. So this creativeness is more than just arts and crafts. This is going to be creative and emotion. So when we think of creative, it sort of is like the unknown. Like, you don't know what's going to come out when you put the pen to the paper. You don't know what's going to come out when you speak your feelings. So if you think about people who are creative and tapped into that creativity, they can really be tapped into their emotions, and they're not scared to go from one emotion to the next in 10 minutes. So this is also creative. It's the unknown, and let me try to gather my thoughts here. So the creative is this container, and what we put in it is our creative energy. So the rise of the creative is going to be the rise in us feeling our emotions and not blocking them off and not crying, and real men don't cry, or I have to be strong and I'm not going to cry about it or get mad about it or get frustrated about it and just put on this dull face that doesn't show any emotion. That's not really serving us anymore. So when we see the rise of the creative, we're seeing things that are serving our healing, which is like showing our emotion and feeling our emotion and actually processing and talking through and having support with our emotions. So I think of masculine humans or men most of the time really struggle with showing their emotions. And this, at least in America, is based off of the standards that society has raised, the differences between girls and boys. And boys don't cry, and boys are soldiers, and boys are violent, and all of these things. And when we look at the way that society has raised the boys, that we see that it's very masculine. It's very, what we consider to be manly is violent and angry, and boys don't cry. And that is so far from being creative, which is coming up as something that people want. Being turned off and angry is way on the other spectrum of being creative and letting things flow and letting your emotions flow. So the point that I'm trying to get at is when the challenge that men may face. Actually, let me back up a little bit here. So when we see things like anger, and when we see things like take it to rage or hate or violence, that actually is presenting itself as a problem. So that's presenting as pain. Meaning, when our bodies, if something's going wild in our bodies and something's not right, our body's going to hurt. We're going to have pain wherever the pain is. It could be on a bruise, it could be inside in our heart. We're going to have some sort of pain to show us that something there needs to be healed. And so this pain that we're feeling in society through the violence and rage and hate, and the just shut off of all emotion, that's pain. And the pain that we're feeling there is a sign for us to see that there's something there that gets to be healed. And what I really wanted to bring is, for me as a girl, like, I am somebody who people expect to be creative, whether that means speaking my mind or being artsy and painting, because I've always been creative in this way. Not all the girls have, but I have. So there's an expectation for me that just I'm creative. Shauna's creative. And it's still really, really challenging for me to put my creativity out into the open. And people assume that I'm creative. So let's assume that you're a young boy or man that nobody assumes or has ever seen be creative or in their emotion, because they are really the same things. It's going to be really difficult for you now being involved in a world that is getting so saturated by this creative energy. People are starting their own businesses, which is creative because I start my own business. It's my creation. I get to decide what it looks like. I get to decide how I want it to be. It's mine. It's the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a paycheck that's for sure going to be there every other Friday. I don't know things, but yet entrepreneurship is becoming something that more and more people want. And I'm off topic. Let me drink my bone broth. So when anybody in their masculine is sort of now drenched in this feminine or creative world that's coming up, it could be really, really triggering. Jay said, I've always hid my feelings until I can't take it anymore, so I bottle up my anger. Right. I do it too. But men have, most of the time, men are doing it more. I appreciate you saying that, Jay. Thank you. There's no expression there. There's no emotion. It's bottled up until it comes out as anger or rage or violence. And being somebody who has a hard time sitting in their emotions and communicating their emotions and maybe doesn't have a fucking clue how to do it is going to be really triggering being in a world that is now being engulfed in creative energy. And now creative energy is something that people want to see. And, you know, violence and ego is something that people don't want to see. But if that's all you know, it's so triggering. So this could do a few things, but I want to talk about two things. So one, if a male or somebody who's very masculine, what this means is that they have a lot of repressed feminine. They have a lot of repressed creative energy. Repressed feminine shows up very masculine and angry, where repressed masculine, like repressing your anger or repressing your rage, can show up very feminine. So with the boys, they have this repressed feminine. They weren't allowed to express their emotion. They weren't allowed to do all these creative things because it was girly. It's going to show up very masculine. And so this could make for school shootings and violence of this nature. I did a little research and I found that like 98% of all school shootings is boys. And to me, that is no coincidence. Most of the shootings and the violence are from boys because there is a repressed feminine there where they don't or weren't or don't think that they're allowed to express their emotion or express their creativity and their thoughts. So that's one possible outcome, is that they can be very violent and very angry, possibly abusive, could go way out of the way, and that could get into rape and control and power. Now, the other side of the coin that actually just came up today with somebody that I was listening to that we're supporting in one of the groups that we're in. If there's a man who doesn't know how to be creative, or a masculine person who doesn't know how to be creative, doesn't know how to express emotion, they just don't know. They've never learned. And then all of this creativity is coming up around them as something to be wanted, and they don't know how to do it. They may just take a back seat and sort of become passive because they feel like they have no control in the world around them or don't know how to navigate the world around them. So a complaint that I'm hearing a lot from women now is that their boyfriends might be being too passive and not dominant enough or not manly enough or not making decisions. And I think that it's because this creative energy, this feminine energy is getting glorified. And the males don't want to do anything wrong and they don't know what to do, so then they just shut up. And this is ineffective for relationships very much. Now, one second. So I wrote a couple of things that I wanted to talk about on my phone. I hope this all makes sense. Again, so masculine is very straight. It's a straight line. They know where they're going. They know what they need to do to get there. This is broken. Let's fix it. Very type A. And feminine, again, is this unknown. It's the container. It's the space where we get to create. And when somebody who's used to being in that manly energy, that masculine energy, is now faced with this opportunity to be creative with whatever they want to do, with this space to create and let their emotions flow or let their ideas flow and trust that everything is going to be okay, that's scary as hell. Like, that scary as hell is a creative woman. And to be an adult male who has never done these things before, it could show up very scary. So when I say this one's for the boys, this is one for me to say to you boys, like, I see you guys, and I know that the rise of the feminine or the rise of the creative is really, women are really taking a stand and saying, like, this is our time, and we'll show you guys how to do it. And they're getting very egotistical about it. And that's not the stand that I have. The stand that I have is this rise of the feminine is not just for women. This rise of the feminine is rise in emotion, and the rise in the feminine is rise in creativity. And really, to get down into the hippiness of it is these ancient cultures that we see who had this technology that we cannot recreate today. The ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians built the pyramids. We can't do that. It was considered to be in the golden age. I'm going to try to keep it pretty basic. So it was considered to be in the golden age. And this was, technology has obviously exceeded what we have today. That may be new information for some of you, but a lot of the talk I'm hearing of the rise in the feminine talk about getting back to this golden age and getting back to the age where violence was not an issue and things were resolved. They were very matriarchal and things were resolved not with violence. And what I'd like to add in there is those people in the golden age are not here. And that golden age went away. That golden age then went down into the other ages, and it became violent and it became very masculine. And just because they ruled in a matriarchal way doesn't mean that we have to do it exactly the same way. We get to incorporate both the creative energy and the foundational energy of the masculine, and then get to a better earth in that way. This is like a whole nother topic. But what I really, really, really wanted to get through here is the rise of the feminine and the rise of creative is not about women. And I see a lot of feminist type things coming out on TV. I see a lot of women talking a big game because the men have like had the ball for all this time and now the women have the ball. And like, stop, that is not it. What it is that we get to hold the men while they learn how to be creative and speak and process their emotions. And that right there is going to make the school shooting stop. That's going to make the violence stop. That's going to make the war stop. That's going to make all of these ineffective male patterns like violence and anger and hate cease to be. And when we cradle both of them as a combined unit of male and female energy, we're going to have not only the space to create anything we want to and this unlimited potential of limitlessness to create, but we're also going to have that foundation, that male, masculine foundation to hold it up. And it's so important. So please, ladies, don't use the rise of the feminine and the rise of the creative to, take your man's masculinity away, because that is not what the goal is. The goal is to show him how to be in his power by being in his emotions, because this is the new power. I hope that all made sense to you. I'd love some feedback. I don't remember a thing I said. Not a thing. I had some notes in my phone. Any comments? Candace, thank you for the love. I'm gonna look at my notes on my phone again. Yeah, and to reiterate, a lot of boys now, men, boys, young boys, older men, are becoming very passive, because before, violent manliness was power. That was what's considered power was. And now, creative energy is becoming the new power, and they don't know how to stand in it, so they're standing down. This is just something that we get to hold them in. Anybody who's tapped into their creative energy. Candace said, what can the men do not to be afraid? How can we women support them to feel comfortable to be in their creative selves? Okay, it's a good one. So, with creativity, this is my experience, but with creativity, there's fear. Like, there's no escaping the fear. But what would be really effective for us to learn, oh no, my battery's going to die. What would be really effective for us to learn is, let me see how I have 8 minutes. I have to go get my charger. Please hold. You can look at my paintings if you want to. Okay, let me just plug this in really quickly as my cat chases the cord. Plug this in over here. Oh no. Okay. Sorry guys, my battery died. See some new eyes on here. Let's get back to business. So Candace asked me, what can the men do not to be afraid? So I'm going to answer this one at a time. I think a huge thing that you might want to be aware of is that there is never the lack of fear. So it's facing the fear where the creative energy really rises. It's facing the fact that you might fail. It's facing the fact that things may not go the way that you want them to go. And the way that we can get men not to be afraid is to support them in, and this is not just men, but anybody very masculine who's scared of creativity and emotion, would be to really support them when they come to us and express emotion. And it sounds really simple and easy. And I know with myself, if my boyfriend comes to me and expresses an emotion on something that he's feeling, I could take it really personally and get really triggered and want to just bite right back. Where now being in the space of I want to support him and learning how to speak his emotions, I'm going to understand that it's not about me. Even if he's saying something about me, it's not about me, it's about how he's feeling. So I get to be calm and I get to love him when he shows up as his full self rather than attack him, which a lot of us have a very instant response to. And the second question was, oh, that's how we women can support them to feel comfortable to be their creative selves. So that's one way, is to not take offense when they're speaking their emotions, because most of the time it's not about us, it's about them. And we take it personally because we're in a relationship and we sort of take responsibility for their happiness. And that's not the case. 2 would be to do it ourselves. So maybe dive into learning how to express your needs and emotions correctly in a non-violent way. I just read a really good book that I fucking love, and it's called Nonviolent Communication. And it's not a very long book. I actually printed out some steps and I have it in my kitchen so I can use it when I'm feeling triggered or can't express my feelings. And so Candace, if you want somebody to learn how to express their emotions and not be afraid, make sure that you're learning how to express your emotions and not being afraid. And stepping up even, and again, the fear will be there, so stepping through the fear. So if you want to express your emotions and you're feeling a fear, but what expressing your emotions is going to get you on the other side of it is better than not expressing your emotions, go through the fear and do it anyways. And then the more you do it, the more you're going to get the muscle for it. It's going to be awkward. And you might say things that don't make any sense, or you might sound like a total idiot when you're trying to explain yourself non-violently without blame. A really, really good idea is for you to take that on first before you can expect anybody else to do it. And I'm pretty confident if you're having a large issue with somebody not expressing their emotions to you, you're probably not expressing your emotions to them, standing outside of being a victim. So I would say get aware on how to communicate effectively. And there's a lot of resources out there. I mean, everything. You have YouTube, you have books. I really suggest nonviolent communication because it takes the responsibility away from the other person. And it's a very nonviolent. So men, this would be especially good for speaking to somebody in the masculine because they hear violence and they just want to come right back at you. So let me know if that makes sense. Jay said, I like the artwork I used to draw, but I cannot always focus to keep drawing as far as emotions go. I cannot always focus to keep drawing as far as emotions go. I usually find songs that say what I am not always able to say. So what I'm getting is you stop the artwork because you can't finish it. You can't finish you can't finish putting how you're feeling into the art. Is that what you're saying? I've been working on this guy 2 months now. I get in here every like few weeks and I spend a couple hours on it. And then this one I painted in school and I'm not a fan of, but I'm gonna hang it up anyways. Thank you guys for your interaction. If anybody else has any comments or questions, I'd love to hear them. If you're experiencing a big thing that Candace brought up that I can say to all of you guys is if you're experiencing a relationship that kind of is stunted in expressing emotion and is really blocked and can be really triggering and aggravating. You're welcome, Candace. Yeah, I'll send you the Amazon link. I love it. I love that book. If you want to see a change, and to bring it back to the school shooting, if you want to see a change in nonviolent behavior, you get to not hate or blame or shame anybody for the reasons that something happened. You get to have empathy and compassion for the people involved and realize that people only hurt people when they're hurt. So us acting as a victim and blaming somebody for the problems or something for the problems that are going on only create this circle that's never-ending hate, never-ending violence, never-ending blame, never-ending victims. It never ends until we stop it, until we realize that, okay, all of these things are happening out here, and seemingly I can't control. I can't control what's going on the other side of the earth. I can't control the children that are dying in the war. I can't control the soldiers that are going through life hurtling experiences. I can't control any of it. But what I can control is my emotion. And if I have the choice in what emotions I desire to feel, that is going to change everything. And it may seem small, and it may seem like so dumb and so like me, there's nothing I can do about it. If I have compassion for this guy, like that's just one person. And I honestly believe that that is not the case. The change starts with you. And if you want to receive something in any of your relationships, if you want to receive something from the earth, if you want to receive anything back, you get to do that first. Don't expect anybody else to do it for you because nobody is responsible for your feelings. Okay, it's 5 o'clock and I'm going to go make dinner. It's leftovers, so it'll be easy. Thanks everybody who hopped on. Candace, thank you for coming in and asking that question. I'll send you the book right now. Love you guys.